Chris, are you there? I can't see you. Maybe we're not, the meeting hasn't started yet. I don't know. I think we're early.
Yeah, we are early.
Yeah. I want to get my background. I don't know how to do that. That's why I tried to work on it a little early, but it's not going to happen. Oh, well, going to have to show.
I still don't really know how to use Zoom completely. I know enough to get on here, so.
You know, it's not very loud. Let me turn my speaker up. Let's see how to do that. Ah, man. Let's see. Chat, screen share. Oh, we can't do screen share because the host has not allowed it. I got it. Kevin's here. That's good.
Hi, Diane.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. I hope you're having a good
day. Good. We're all so eager. This is going to be good, I think.
Absolutely. This is going to be great.
Real good. Turn my phone off. So I deleted my backgrounds. Now I want them back again, and I can't find how to do it. Oh well, it's okay.
Are you signed in to Zoom?
I think so. Yes. Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, if I don't sign in, it won't give me the pictures that I've uploaded for the backgrounds. But if you're signed in, then
it should do it. Yeah. Well, I have time to play with it a little bit. Let's see. Window. Let's see what that is. Yeah, I mean, what I did is I just highlighted what they sent me, you know, which I think that's directly into Zoom, I think. Let me go to Zoom here too. You know, it's okay. I can't find it. I'll let it go.
Hello, Diane. How are you?
I'm good, John. How are you? Have you been walking the beach lately?
Yes, I don't see you there. I come to see you there.
Well, I go early. You know, I have if you're 15 minutes difference.
Yeah.
Each other. Yeah.
Wish you well. Thank you.
Yeah, but it was good meeting your wife.
Thank you.
Yeah, I live in the marina on the water, and he was walking by with his wife one day, so I got to meet her. That was nice.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, nice. Still gonna work on it. Saw this. That's good. I have at least a heart.
I don't know why my camera stopped working.
You know, no idea. I mean, I had a background, but I think, yes, maybe I had the background on my iPad and my phone. Maybe I didn't have it here, but so I would like to put one in, but I don't know how to do it. So that's all right. No problem.
The heart was good.
Yeah, they automatically went off. I think that's just maybe brief, you know, where you just highlight and that's it. I don't know how to find that one again either. Oh, I did.
Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Let me invite. I don't see it.
I'm back.
Oh, yeah. Reactions. If you go to reactions, that's when the heart comes, or whatever you want to do. Yeah. Okay.
Ignorate individual atra. Where could it go? Nowhere. Who would have taken that though? You left it in the box. You threw the box away.
Hey there, guys.
Hey.
Hey, Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Boss man.
Hello, Josh.
Everyone doing well?
Fantastic. Could not be better.
Love it.
Super.
Here.
My client arrives at 2:30, so don't say anything good after that. Say all the good stuff up front.
I think they're taping the meeting today, no?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot of good stuff. Good stuff.
Josh, how did it go for you guys yesterday after we left, man?
I'm trying to remember what that was.
You were headed up to Sherman Oaks with.
Oh yeah, it was good. We're just figuring out navigating a bunch of stuff. All good.
Awesome. Good to hear, man.
Yeah.
Hi, Brandon.
There
Hey,
you are.
everybody. How are
San
you?
Francisco. How cool is that? Yeah.
I can touch the sun. Oh, I still haven't found one of the other backgrounds in the Zoom app that I like. I know you can put your own, but I'm just sticking with the pretty.
Well, I got on early to try and do a background on this work computer, and I couldn't find out how to do it. But that's it's okay. We have a work background.
It's good.
bridge,
Makes it look like you're busy. You're
Yeah.
working.
The bridge tends to mean that that's the first one you chose.
I'll go with that, Robert. I'm trying to think. I think you're right. I may have
was
used the
me
space
about-
one at first.
That was me about 2 years ago, or the beginning of COVID, with that bridge.
Well, I thought you've always had that
No,
same
no.
appreciation behind you.
I started with that bridge, which has a curved line up.
Yeah. Oh, so you noticed that the subtle incline itself,
Yes.
showing our market. To Howell.
So Brandon, how are your boys?
Well, one of them just got his stitches removed, and a week ago, the other one got his cast removed. So they're doing a lot better.
Wow.
What happened? I missed that. What happened?
I mean, one kid, the older one, 6 years old, was on a scooter, just like he is every day, and just
Wow.
fell
Yeah.
and really hard. And the other one decided to run right into a toilet. So
Oh,
As one would.
good times. Good times.
Little one. They're cute. They're so darling.
Josh, have you has your son had any kind of incidents or?
Not really. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think. It was amazing. I mean, he falls all the time. So
Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah.
Every day.
I'm trying to think. Nothing. Obviously, I remember
Yeah.
if it was anything really significant. Not yet,
Yeah.
but it's it's nerve wracking, of course,
Yeah,
and
It
a
is.
lot of falls, but nothing of serious consequence yet.
Yeah.
I
I think it's
jumped
hard. I think
scooter with my 3-year-old, did relatively well, keeping him safe. A week later, my wife is out with a 3-year-old. She jumps on the scooter, crashes badly. And I go, why did you do that? Because I have a little bit of a skill. She doesn't. She thought she was going to be crippled for life, but she's okay.
Yeah, she's lucky. I tried to hoverboard because my 6-year-old's so good at it. I just flew right back, hit my head, thought I had a concussion. That's the last
You're
time I was
talking
doing
about those ones that
Yeah.
float. Yeah, I
Yeah.
slammed my hand a few years ago, got rid of it.
Oh, those things
It
are
hurt.
dangerous.
After about 5 minutes, you become a pro, but that first 5 minutes is dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
No way. It took me like 2 days and 2 glasses of wine to not be afraid to get on and off that hoverboard. Riding it's not so hard, but getting on and off is really scary.
You're right. That's what it is. It's the getting off part.
I just jumped.
We'll wait one more minute and then we will get started. Glad to have everyone here. Happy Tuesday. The sun has come out. We were on our commercial call and Austin asked me how's the weather and said it's a little bit gloomy, and there we go. Now it's not. So great to have a great group here, and it's growing by the moment. Got some great strategy and wisdom to share with one another. So love the collaboration. So why don't we get started? So I'm going to just sort of introduce and sort of set this up, and then I'm going to turn to a number of people, a few people that are sort of helping me lead this, and then we want to make it, as collaborative as possible. But I think talking more broadly initially will set the framework for other people then to ask a myriad of questions, and this whole sort of idea around how to get your offer accepted, right? How to present an offer effectively, how to ultimately get your offer accepted, and how to close a deal, right? We talk about, and I'm hesitant to say limited inventory because it's interesting. I think it's more high demand. The inventory, the number of units that we're closing is greater than it was, a year ago. So when we talk about low inventory, I'm trying to help everyone sort of pause for a moment and recognize that, yeah, maybe it's not so low inventory, it's just extremely high demand, right? And there is always ways to get more creative about creating inventory. How many people do you know that have a home that at the right price would be willing to sell that home, right? So I also want to just cause people to think a little differently about what we call oftentimes low inventory. There's plenty of inventory. That there were not, a million homes that were bulldozed over the last year, right? There's a tons of homes, or building new homes all the time. It's a matter of like, how do we create urgency? How do we create an opportunity amongst potential sellers to, create more opportunities to sell and buy homes? But within that, specifically here, we're talking about, again, how do we build a relationship with the listing agent? How do we distinguish ourselves? And ultimately, again, how do we get our offer accepted? So I think it starts with communication. And we talked a little bit about this amongst the ALC. Really, number one, managing expectations with your own clients, recognizing that it is extremely competitive landscape. So what are you doing to have those conversations initially? So you're trying to minimize any disappointment. And I think that's really critical to manage their expectations. We'll dig into that a little bit deeper. And then ultimately, really, how do you build a really good relationship, rapport, and communication with that listing agent? Because that goes so far in this landscape. So, and then how do we present an offer? Like, what are the different things we can do in presenting the offer that does distinguish it and make it look a lot more attractive to that listing agent? And again, many of you guys are listing agents. So I think also thinking about it, what does it look like from the other person's perspective? I think that's a great lesson in life for anything, right? Try to put yourself in the other person's shoes and how would they think, how would they feel? And I think when you always look at things and with that lens, it allows us to all be a lot more effective. So with that said, just wanted to sort of create some broad thoughts for everyone. Maybe I'll turn to either Austin or Nikki first and just sort of give us your broad thoughts on a couple different topics. And then I'll go around to Nikki, Kristen, Austin, and Howie. I don't see, but I'm assuming is here somewhere. And you guys give us your broad thoughts, experiences, and then we'll sort of piggyback onto particular topics and then open it up to the whole group. So who wants to volunteer to go first?
Ladies first, Nikki or Kristen?
And you can just start off with maybe a story or a particular situation you had. I think that's always a good way to start on and lessons that came from that.
Sure. Did you want me to start with the things that you mentioned was
whatever, Chris,
client?
Whatever. Yep. Go ahead. You're great.
So, FYI, guys, I do teach a specialty class on how to get your buyer offer accepted in multiples. So beyond doing our regular mentorship training, like I added that class because I knew this was such a need. It's such a climate. It's on YouTube if you want to check it out. It's like an hour-long class. And I go over everything I can possibly think of there. But like you said, Josh, it's a relationship. So you want to be present for the showing. You want to make friendly with the listing agent. You want to make sure that your buyers, express their interest, that you ask, what do I need to do to get this property, right? And on the flip side of that is preparing the buyers ahead of time is, we can find something that we like, but oftentimes anything that's reasonably priced, that's good looking right now is going to have 20, 30 offers on it. And so I'll prep them with some of the things some of the tricks and methods I use to try to get their offer accepted. But it's all about managing the mindset and then managing the relationship with the listing agent and making sure they know that you're willing to go that extra mile. That goes a long way. I have lots of friends that were listing agents when I was in a really competitive situation because I made sure I went out of my way to make a friendship with that agent. I wrote a clean offer. I made sure I asked them what their preferences were, knew what they needed ahead of time. And that's before all of the actual technical tricks that you can write into the contract.
Yeah, I guess emphasize asking, guys, the most obvious, but sometimes gets missed. Like what is important, right?
Yeah. Does the seller need a lease back? Are you guys worried? What are you worried about? Appraisal? Do you need a short, long escrow? Even something as simple as what title and escrow company do you use? Checking to make sure that the seller's name is correct. You want to make sure that listing agent knows you're a closer, knows you're capable, knows the deal is going to be easy. So above and beyond giving them the terms, they've got to like you and respect you as a professional.
And to add to the relationship with the other agent, the other broker. I teach my mentees and my juniors, I say, look, buyers want to buy, sellers want to sell, and we as brokers are here to broker the deal. We're on the same team. Yes, you're going to have adversarial and jerk type of agents that you're going to be working with, but for the most part, look, we're on the same side. Everybody's friendly. Talk to them, build those relationships, find out what the sellers are looking for, find out if the listing agent needs something in particular. And get creative, but you got to build that relationship. It is not just drawing a line in the sand and it's their side versus our side. You have to foster those relationships, not only for this deal, but for the 10 deals down the road too, don't forget. So never burn bridges, always try to make it as friendly as possible and communicate, because without the communication, it's like you're writing a blind offer. Get as concrete and as real as possible and broker that deal.
And look, here's the other piece. It's not just about the numbers. Obviously that plays into it. It's about, as I like to say, and Austin used another term, like the probability of closing the deal, right? So that at the end of the day is what counts. And that doesn't necessarily mean the highest price. In fact, often it does not, or the best term. So it's a lot about, once again, the relationship, the confidence as the buyer's agent that you instill in the listing agent. Your punctuality, your responsiveness, your, again, communication, those things go a long, long way. And again, put yourself as a listing agent in their shoes. That's what you're going to want. You're going to want to know this deal is actually going to close and things are going to go the way we generally expect them to. And when they go a little bit sideways, that there's strong lines of communication that gets us back on course.
And actions speak louder than words, right? You can say that to the listing agent all you want, that, hey, this is going to go so smoothly. My clients are easygoing. We're very professional, but actions speak louder than words. And what I mean by that is there's small things that we do that really give you true insight as to how you're going to be as a partner working on this deal together. So for me, again, I hate, and I've done it myself, okay? Especially earlier on in my career, when you've submitted that offer, you know it's a competitive situation. I have taught myself, and I tell my juniors and my mentees, don't be that agent that's calling the listing agent every 15 minutes for a status update. Even though I said I'm professional and that we're open to communicate, don't over communicate either, right? Don't be that pestering agent. Hey, what about now? What about now? Any answer? Any answer? Like, give them the space, give them the time to do the work. If you put yourself in the listing agent's shoes, if it's a competitive situation, you've got 10 offers on the table. Imagine if you had 10 different agents calling you every 15 minutes to see if their offer got accepted or if they're going to get a counter. It's bonkers. Give me a minute to figure it out.
On that note, look in the MLS what the listing agent wants. A lot of times they'll tell you how they want their offers submitted. They may have their own offer submission form that they want filled out. They may want all the documents in one PDF. I mean, in this market, you want to do exactly what the listing agent wants right now. And if you're following directions, that's going to make it a lot more easier for them to want to pick your offer. So just adding
Can I
that.
ask a question at this point? We're not asking questions yet.
Let's hold off for a minute, Craig, and then yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So we're starting with this.
Add that, this starts at the very beginning when you're scheduling your showing. I mean, for example, I have a listing right now and I have some buyer's agents that are demanding certain times, and there are all these other times. You just have to be compliant. That's just the nature of the market right now, and make it work. Have your clients, leave work for an hour during their lunch break. Make it work. Show the other agent that you're easy, and just make it as smooth as possible from the very beginning. Show up a little early so that you're there for the entire 15-minute showing, and then say thank you and ask all your questions and just really win them over. Show them that you're an agent that would be great to work with. That's what we have to do.
Accommodating and easy. Right. And that goes with also managing, once again, your client's expectations to comply with that. Right. It's so funny as I'm looking personally for my own home and someone's helping me in that. I'm not the most accommodating client, right? As I'm thinking about this and talking, so it's really important to recognize that and manage, again, those expectations, again, as Austin said, with your actions.
And on the client side, a part of the management of expectations is right now, listing agents are being particularly forthcoming with their offer prices, right? Because it doesn't make sense for them not to be at this point. And so a lot of times, offers are received within 1 or 2 days of property being listed. So I'm asking the agent, where are you in offer price? That way I can prepare my client so they know, we're already significantly over that listing price before we see it. That way they have a much easier time when I'm recommending numbers that they write in their initial offer. And on the flip side of that is after I deliver my offer, I do check in with the listing agent, but like you said, I'm not pestering, Austin, I'm not pestering the listing agent. But what I do want to get across, my main message is, even if I'm not the highest, even if you're only going to counter 5, me and my client, we are worth countering. Just get us a counter. I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
Yep.
So securing that counter offer when you might not otherwise by giving that message is really important.
To build on that, Kristen, I mean, she mentioned easy, and we keep saying the word easy. Like my goal, I should say, whenever I'm writing an offer is to deliver an offer basically on a silver platter. Make it as easy as possible for the seller to just say, you know what, that looks great, and sign their name. And when I mean delivering it on a silver platter, that means the offer's complete. You have the seller's name. You have every T crossed and every I dotted. You're speaking to the listing agent to find out some of the terms that they need so that you can write that into the offer. That offer should be so clean that all they have to do is read your offer and the 5 others and say, well, this is the only one that's complete. This is the only one that followed the instructions. This is the only one that was punctual to the showing. This is the memorable one. Let me just go ahead and sign it. When you do that, you have a greater likelihood of winning the deal.
What Austin is saying is very important. When I'm representing a buyer, I'm not representing a buyer to get a counter. I'm representing a buyer to get it accepted on the first shot. So I'm coming in with our best shot. If there's 10 offers, I may not get a counter if I don't give them my best shot. So don't ask for the washer and dryer. Don't ask for things that are in there. And clearly, if in the MLS, they're saying, don't ask for something, don't ask for it. And then it goes a bit further to talk to the agent and ask them what the seller wants. As Christian was saying earlier about, do they want to rent back? It's almost smart to put the option of a rent back in there for almost everyone. So if you got a seller doesn't know where they're going, they're going to love your offer because you give them the option to rent back, and it takes the stress off that seller who might not have found a place yet. So it's a strategy I use quite often. But I'd also say, besides writing your best offer, it's getting the mindset of your buyer to know that we're not coming in here lowballing. We're not coming in here below probably asking if there's multiple offers. If there's not multiple offers, it's a different story. But in this market, it's about multiple. So you want to come in with your best shot. And the conversation with the buyer is going to be, if we come in a little bit lower, if we come in a little bit lower than what you want to come in with, and you expect a counter, then it's going to be in multiple counters. It's going to spiral higher. It's only to your advantage to get it accepted on your first shot, because it reduces the chance of multiples. Also, very important with all of that, when I'm writing an offer, I strike like lightning. What do I mean by that? We're instantly putting that offer in. We're not waiting an hour a day. It's happening quick. I don't care if they say they're waiting for a week to look at offers. A lot of times, if you give them a good enough offer, that listing agent will take it. And I've had that happen more times than not. So even if they say, wait, give your best shot right away. And don't calculate it to bring it in on the last day. They may have already taken another agent's offer.
I got to just pick back on a couple things Robert said. You know, we often hear it's a little bit different now in this climate with far more multiples than we've had in the past. But, you know, how many times have we heard the first offer is usually the best offer, right? So that, I think that principle still applies in many cases. And that goes to what Robert's saying, put your best foot forward right away, number one. And managing those expectations. Managing those expectations, you know, right out of the gate, as we've talked about all the time with our clients. And then the rent back piece, which is Robert said, you know, one of the biggest fears that most, you know, sellers have is, do I have a replacement property, right? So when you give them that option, that can often distinguish you and allay some of those concerns, because oftentimes they don't necessarily have anything yet set up. So giving them that extra value can go a long, long way. So I think that's a really great point.
And on the rent back, if you want to be seductive, you can offer below market rent back. I've done as low as $500, and I had one wanted to give it a free rent back. I said, look, legality, you need to put some number in there, so if there was ever an issue. So you can be creative with that, because that's worth more money too. And we also don't know if you're putting in there PITI, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, which is the standard that we do as rent backs. We don't know what that current seller has as a mortgage. It's probably much less than PITI. So it's kind of wise to put a lower number in there if you're in a competitive situation and you want to win it, and your buyer understands they're going to be paying a mortgage of $6,000, $7,000, or giving a $2,000 or $3,000 rent back to the seller. But it's just a competitive thing to do in competitive times. Not that you would do it if you know you're the only offer on the table. And one last thing, I've written offers where I knew we had the best offer overall. And as I'm about to send it in, I find out that they have something higher. I immediately change my offer. I up it. I'm not going to let someone else beat me. So I change it with the blessing of the buyer. So be ready to pivot. Don't be, and I just had on a $3 million listing, the other agent, a manager at another company, was writing an offer. She pulled it back and resubmitted a higher offer. So it's being done by other agents too. Just be aware of flexibility in your attack.
And there was one word that Robert brought up that meant he mentioned the word stress. And so yes, it's a stressful occasion for our clients, the buyers. But again, if we put ourselves in the shoes of the sellers, it's also stressful for them. So we use an analogy where in a competitive situation, when a seller's reviewing all the offers, it's like being at the middle school dance, guys. The middle school dance, the seller is trying to look around the room and figure out what guy is cute, what girl is cute, whoever they want to dance. They're looking at all the options, and they're surveying the landscape to see which one seems to be the best dancer or who's going to be the most fun. It's the same thing with the sellers. We're looking at all these offers. Again, it's just a sea of paperwork. And if the listing agent's done a summary, that's great. But those are just terms, right? And so those are just numbers. Put yourself in their shoes. The seller is stressed out. Who am I choosing? Who do I want to get into bed with that I feel very likely that they're going to close this deal, that they're going to perform? Because if I choose incorrectly and I waste 10 days, 14 days on a physical and then find out that we can't come to an agreement and we have to go back on market, gosh, that's the kiss of death right now. We all know that. Nobody wants to be back on the market. So understand that the sellers are stressed out. They want to choose wisely. And the listing agent has, skin in the game too. Like if they make a recommendation for one agent or for one prospective buyer, and that individual turns out to be a bozo, well, they got egg on their face. Now we got to go back to the drawing boards again.
And
go ahead.
I was just going to say with that, if you're a listing agent, get a backup offer, because if you fall out and seller's pissed at you, they may want to try to cancel with you. That backup's going to be legally binding and it will move forward. Just write the backup correctly. Our offer to the buyer's agents that they should be a backup. And if you're representing a buyer, definitely go in a backup position, because you have about a 25 or 30% chance that other offer is going to fall out. You just want to let the listing agent know that you have a buyer that's savvy. They're not going to pretty much ask for anything that's petty during inspections. And you can say as a backup, give me their physical inspections. Once you get them, I will let you know that I'll let you give you a clear, okay?
Do I have what?
I probably have his email address.
So by giving
Armand, can you mute everyone?
By giving the inspection, the backup offer, it's going to guarantee, if you're choosing to stay with the current offer or go with the backup, that the backup's actually going to work. I don't know if you guys got what I just said, but that's very important, because if you give all the inspections to the backup and you're thinking with the current offer, we don't want to give them any credit, but the backup's saying we're scared, we would ask for a lot, then you stay the course with that one, you give them a credit to stay the course. But if the backup says, hey, we absolutely are clean, we're good with all those inspections, then you can play it differently.
Hey, Josh, can we pivot a second? We're talking about things that we should do regardless of any market, writing offers that are clean, being responsive, so that goes without saying. I think, what's going to be helpful for everyone here, including myself, is to hear tricks of writing offers as far as, what terms, crazy terms we're doing in this market that we wouldn't normally have not been doing. So, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So
No appraisal, guys. King. No.
I mean,
appraisal.
yeah, the
We don't
no
want an
appraisal.
contingency.
Exactly. But now, even writing what typically a seller pays for, seller's cost, seller's warranty, having a buyer pay for that. So I don't know if you have an outline script to talk about that, but I think that would be a really good way to, talk about what tricks the agents on this call are doing to get offers accepted.
We can release the earnest money deposit, non-refundable to the seller upon maybe lifting the physical investigation contingency. We can
From
do
risk management, I would release it once you've removed all your contingencies.
Yeah, is that gonna, see how competitive you have to get. You can weigh the risk of that whenever. I usually do it upon an event, not a date. Or you can do the increased deposit, where you can try to sneak the increased deposit through without the RID form, which is the form that actually allows the increased deposit to be eligible for the seller to go after, unlike the earnest money deposit, which is automatically up for grabs in the case of a buyer lifting all their contingencies and failing to close. So you can try to sneak an increased deposit through without the RID, or you can do it legitimately with the RID car form. I always recommend right now that my buyers waive home warranty. Why? A few $100, easiest thing. I'm happy to give it to them as their closing gift. That's, that's something that I offer to my buyers right away. We're lifting the appraisal contingencies, and along with that, we're talking about easy, right? Let's make it clear to the listing agent. Not only is my buyer lifting the appraisal contingency, here's their very healthy bank account. They can clearly make up a difference of $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, whatever it is they need to. And I'm not telling you, I'm showing you, right?
That's big.
Explain that to your buyer also. Explain the ramifications of what happens if it doesn't appraise, so they know. So the newer agents on this call, if a property doesn't appraise and you've, lifted your, waived your appraisal contingency, what's gonna have to occur?
I have an unwritten rule that if they're a new buyer, I'm not gonna go that aggressive. If they're a savvy buyer, we're gonna throw away some contingencies like appraisal, loan, physical inspection even. But if it's a first-time buyer, I just don't think they quite can understand the depth of waiving some of these contingencies. It's kind of cool, and there's a lot of confusion of the loan contingency and the appraisal contingency, because you can throw away the appraisal contingency and pretty much you still have it because of the loan contingency. And a lot of people don't understand that. Also, on the loan contingency, a lot of agents think if there's an issue, they can walk away from the loan contingency, and you actually can't.
Robert, not really. You can't cancel, you have to cancel based on a contingency, it's got to be used in good faith. And if you waived your waived your appraisal contingency and you're trying to cancel based on a loan contingency, the seller could say, I'm not returning your deposit, and it'll just sit in escrow. So it's got to be done in good faith. I understand a lot of people had been, until you've waived all your contingencies, people, think that they can get all their money back. But a lot of sellers now are, holding this. There's a lot of disputes with deposits. So realize it's not a cut and dry. I mean, yes, a seller might just want to, cut their losses and move on and give the deposit back. But, they could, if they feel that the buyer wasn't acting in good faith, hold on to it and go after it.
And it says that right in the contract also, that if you waive the appraisal contingency, legally, contractually, you don't have the right to cancel under the loan contingency, which is left. I personally like to try to hide it under the physical because that's a lot harder to prove, right? Everybody has a problem in the physical inspection. So those of you who are not super familiar with lifting the appraisal contingency, make sure your buyer's lender, their loan professional, orders the appraisal ASAP so you can try to protect them under the physical. And Robert, you were talking about not wanting to recommend to your first-time buyers to waive the appraisal. That's the only way I'm getting any offer through right now. So my first-time buyers, I am recommending that they lift the appraisal if they're comfortable. I'm just literally putting them on the phone with their loan professional, talking about what that looks like, at what numbers, actually giving them, writing out the numbers. Here's what would happen if, we offer a price here, it gets accepted here, and the property appraises for this versus this. Are you comfortable with these numbers? Here's worst case scenario, here's best case scenario, and letting them make that decision. But guys, protect yourself. Summarize it in writing. Email it out.
Yes,
and
put it in writing.
get approval, permission from your client.
It's very important in writing, because if you start to lose a deposit, you want to have something that shows you advised them, because it's quite serious in this marketplace. What some of the new agents may or may not know, during your physical inspection, so you guys understand this in black and white, you can get out for any reason. You don't have to really give a reason. Just say, per my physical inspection, I'm walking away. You get your deposit back. You get a get out of jail free. After your physical inspection, it gets nasty and it gets gray, and it's not an easy answer whether you can get your deposit back or not. So if you're going to get out, as Christian was hinting, do it during physical inspection. If you want to get out for any other reason, don't say you're using that reason, but use your physical inspection as the reason to escape out of the deal.
If both physical and loan inspections are accepted and you have 10 days to close, if there's an act of God, let's say an earthquake, and there's major damage, is that a reason to get out?
It's a new disclosure. So you have the new disclosure time to get out. If there's an earthquake, everybody can walk away. That's a new disclosure.
Okay, thank you.
And it happened before in LA.
Seller is supposed to deliver the property in the condition it was in at the time of the offer. So I don't see how the buyer would be bound to complete that sale. No.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a quick plug to add on to what Kristen said.
Kristen, Robert. I know it's not intentional, but Kristen.
Kristen was talking about trying to get the appraisal scheduled and ordered and performed as soon as possible. So here's a quick plug for Keller Mortgage. A lot of you guys have called me about my contacts at Keller Mortgage. Robert E. is the one that really turned me on to Keller Mortgage. But I'll tell you this, if your buyer uses Keller Mortgage, they will oftentimes order the appraisal within the first 3 days of the offer being accepted. So with Keller Mortgage, I've actually had appraisals scheduled and conducted on the same day that we're doing the physical inspections. That is one way to very quickly find out whether or not this thing is even, if it's going to be a concern about the appraisal contingency waiver or not. So again, and other smaller mortgage brokers can accommodate. Some of the big banks can, but it's more difficult, obviously. Get that appraisal scheduled ASAP.
The appraisals are really tough now. Wells Fargo, for instance, is way backlogged on appraisals.
And also, don't be afraid to ask for an appraisal waiver. The last 2 condo deals that I just closed last week, both appraisals were completely waived. We went in no appraisal contingency. We're in constant communication with the lender, told them our situation, competitive situations. We were above asking on both those offers. And it turns out, just by asking, because it fit into a certain category, they waived both appraisals. It wasn't a curbside. It wasn't a desktop appraisal. It was just waived, period.
I had a closing today. Same
Lender,
waiver. I
excuse-
was worried about it.
Go ahead, Craig.
Well, it was the lender that accepted loaning the money without an appraisal, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Wow.
It's many factors, right? It's the loan amount, it's the financial wherewithal of the buyer and the borrower, and if the right circumstance fits, like complete waiver of the appraisal.
What's the difference between the loan appraisal and the loan contingency and the appraisal contingency? Isn't it that the loan has to be approved due to the appraisal? Isn't that the whole contingency all wrapped up in one, or what's the difference?
Yeah, the loan's going to be approved if it doesn't appraise.
Yeah. So the appraisal is value, and the loan is, can the buyer even qualify? So their financial status of the buyer. So the loan appraisal is the overall thing, and the loan itself is overall. The appraisal is the valuation of the house.
I mean, if you waive the appraisal contingency, doesn't that just come in with isn't that from the loan? Like if you want to pay more?
That would be if the house didn't appraise, you would have to come up with a difference, or your deposit would be potentially at risk. But you still have the loan that sometimes there could be a buyer who just can't get a loan. That's when the loan appraisal basically would kick in. If you wrote in your offer, which a listing agent would not like, actually in a multiple, if you put caps on your interest rate and that buyer couldn't get that lower of an interest rate, it gives them an out. But in a competitive market, writing those caps in there, the listing agent's going to notice that and say, hey, this person has a cap and I don't think they can get that. So it makes your offer weak. And we're talking about making your offer strong. Now, of course, it goes without saying, go with a strong lender that you know well. So when that lender says, hey, I can do this, it's a done deal. If you're going with a lender that you don't know, or your buyer has a lender you're not familiar with, you should have a conversation about double apping with Keller Mortgage or some lender you're very strongly involved with, and tell them, now we have 2 we can go with. And it helps your offer too.
Not just one that you're familiar with, like Robert's saying. How about, a mortgage broker? We want to stay away from institutional lenders at this point, because if a property doesn't appraise, a mortgage broker can reapply with a different lender. They can try to bury an appraisal for us. I don't know if we're supposed to do that, but they do. So right now, I'm encouraging every buyer I work with not to work with a bank directly, not to work with a direct lender, but to work with a mortgage broker, someone who's more flexible with us, that can work with us.
Yeah, I want to share something. I want to share something. I just had this situation, and okay, here's what happened. So I sold a property. We're selling a property right now, and exactly what you guys are talking about. The appraisal came in lower, and it came in actually lower with the buyer had to go to another lender because we dropped out with one buyer. So we took another buyer. Basically what happened is the buyer waived his appraisal. He's in at 8. I'm just going to tell you guys the number. He's in at 840. He waived his appraisal. We knew we'd have trouble possibly with the appraisal. We had a previous buyer before that was in at 825, the property appraised, but at that time, it actually, the appraiser was having trouble. So we got the comps. I got the comps. I gave it to the new appraiser. He appraised it at 825 and we were good. The buyer played games, we dumped him. I got another buyer in at 840, waived his appraisal and kept his loan, but I knew they wanted the property. So I was in, talking with the buyer's agent and staying in touch and knew they wanted it. So we actually, the buyer came with this appraiser. They appraised it at 800. No, I'm sorry, 775. I said, no way. I just got done getting this property appraised at 825 by giving the last buyer's appraiser comps. I said, you're not even, and the appraiser was fighting with me. I said, I'm going to the top. I'm not going to deal with you. So so the bank listened, the lender listened, and he went and he fought. And they said, you know what? Get that appraisal for us. I went back to the other agent. This is the relationships. You got to have relationships with your agents. You got to. I went back to another agent, Keller Williams, by the way, Mashid, adorable. I said, I owe you dinner. You got to get me that appraisal. We worked on it for days. We got the appraisal that when it came into 825, brought it back to the lender, the new buyers, and said, look, tell your guy to go and do what he's doing, to learn how to do his job. It's not worth 775. Sure enough, the lender said, I'm accepting it. We're closing Monday for 840. So you guys, anything can be done out there. You just have to know, you have to have relationships, and you have to know your buyers. I say that all the time. Know your buyers and how badly they want the house. These guys could have easily came back, played games and said 70, 75. I'm not closing that. And they didn't because they love the house. They knew it was explained to them. I got the right appraisal and I showed them. So, it just depends of the situation, anyway.
So,
to be resourceful and ask the right questions and know the rules of the road, so to speak, right? Because you don't know what levers you can pull if you don't have this kind of information. And if you don't know, ask. You can see the wealth of information on this call alone with the level of experience with, of course, with Kristen, Melissa, Robert, Nikki, Austin, many others. Like, don't be afraid to ask for advice and ask for help, right? Asking for help is a sign of strength. That's the only way you're going to learn is continue to ask. Go ahead, Kristen.
A couple of the other easy things that you can waive or offer to pay for, the NHD report generally costs between 100 and 150 bucks. Everyone's like, oh, well, how about my buyer pays for this, for that? There are some things that are, more reliable than others. So for instance, in the city of Los Angeles, retrofitting requirements, taking care of that, getting the work done, a seller might ask for that, but we're basically, if we have our buyer agree to pay for that, binding them to a blank check. We don't necessarily know what work is involved. We don't know what the cost is going to be. We don't know if this is going to be a couple $100s or a few thousand. Although on the flip side, at least in my entire professional experience on a normal house, we're not talking about a mega house here. I haven't seen one that's more than a couple of thousand. And that's with including like installing with permit and earthquake shutoff valve. So, if you want to offer to your buyer to offer to pay for fees, NHD is safe. Like I said, have them pay for their own home warranty or buy it for them for their closing gift. You want to stick away from taxes. A lot of times agents think there's just a county transfer tax. A lot of cities have city transfer tax. You want to make sure those are calculated out correctly so that you're actually quoting accurate numbers to your buyer if they're considering paying for those. Escrow fees, we have no idea what the seller's escrow fees are going to be. We don't know if they have payoffs or liens or anything else. So I don't recommend that a buyer offers to pay escrow fees for a client, for a seller. Title is, right, Lauren? Title is, Brandon, title is typically pretty static as far as pricing. You guys have a quote book still?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's typically static pricing. There are some miscellaneous fees based on, recording charges, things like that, but they're fairly minor, so they're not as flexible or changeable as the escrow fees, depending upon the situation. So that would be something you could do also. And then, there's the king of all kings, and you'll want to discuss this with the listing agent before you ever do it, is escalation clause.
That's what I was gonna say. Go ahead. Yep. Go ahead, Kristen.
So escalation clause is basically a clause that says, hey, seller, buyer will pay up to a certain amount, an incremental amount over the highest offered price. I have some specific language I like to use that caps it. So the buyer says, oh yeah, I'm willing to pay $10,000 over the highest price, but only up to such and such number. That way I'm not binding my buyers into paying some, some crazy high number that they'd never be comfortable with. I also think it lends it some credibility. I also ask in that clause, I want a copy of the entire offer and all counter offers of that competing higher offer price from that other buyer.
Kristen, can I say something? I'd say, like, everything she's just said, yes, I agree with, up until this market we're dealing with. I've said, the escalation clauses have to have a cap. I had a conversation with the listing agent, and he has been dealing, he's like, I'm fine with an escalation clause without a cap. So at the end of the day, what happens is, from a practical standpoint, because I just went through it, they'll come back to you with a number and they'll say, here's the proof of the highest number. Will your clients beat it? Yeah. And if they can, and they will,
right. Yeah,
then it's an accepted offer. But if you're, if they come back at a crazy high number and they've given you proof of the second lowest off, highest offer to that, your clients could either say yes or no. In fact, that gives them the most, I think, ability to determine their own outcome.
Yes, that's true. But again, or not again, but just again, guys, before you use an escalation clause, talk to the listing agent. It's a very polarizing method of making an offer. Some agents hate it. Okay, so
I hate it.
You don't want to do it. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So don't write an escalation clause if the listing agent does not want to see one.
There you go. Ask the question. Exactly.
But what I did like that a cap was put in there that's realistic. And that's what I fear when I see escalation clauses is a buyer's going to come in, get too high of an offer in. They're going to get a high level of sour grapes and they're going to fall out. I don't want inspections from a buyer and wasted time. So that's why I just don't like seeing escalation clauses. So if you do it on me, throw in a cap so I know where your buyer is comfortable with. And then I'll take it more
different. So I'd pick up the phone and ask Robert, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm just telling them the info at this point. Yeah. What do you want me to do?
Give me your best shot. That's what I'm saying. Give me a shot that my seller's just going to take and not counter you. And when I'm writing offers, I'm going for the jugular. I'm trying to give an offer that can be accepted and there's no reason to counter it on any point. And with all of this said, your communication to the agent is important in writing. So when you send in that offer, have a cover letter that summarizes the things you're given, because you do all this smart stuff and you have a dumb listing agent, doesn't even understand what you did. You need to have it simple. Don't complicate a long letter, but a simple outline bullet points that say, hey, here's what we've done. And be excited about it, an overview of your cover. Even in your email line has to be seductive. I called up recently, a month ago, an agent with a client of mine, and I wanted to make an offer after the client said, 5 properties, here's the one property we want. I called the agent, he says, do not submit. We already countered 10 offers. You're too late. I called my client, we wrote 10 days all cash, 3-day inspection. And I said, this guy's not even gonna respond to my email. So I had to put an enticing email. He calls me back half an hour later and says, you're very smart, Robert. And he took our offer. But you got to break through all this BS and noise that's out there. Make your offer stand out however you're going to attack. And again, my simple attack is just get my offer accepted. And I think in my entire career, more than 20 years, it may be 25, I think I've written with one buyer 3 times, but most of the time it's one offer and get it accepted.
We were talking about making it clear, and Robert's absolutely correct. You want to see an email layout with bullet points. You want your attachments to be in order. You want to follow all the listing agent's instructions. It needs to be so super clear. And one of the most impactful things I can see right now, we're lifting a lot of contingency. So this is something I don't get to do often, is say I'm waiving the appraisal contingency. I say in my initial offer, my RPA, no appraisal contingency. What I don't need to do is add a contingency removal form, but you know what I do anyhow? I add contingency removal form number 1, and I make that the very first thing that is seen with my offer package. The very first thing is any contingency I can remove is going on a contingency removal, even if it's outlined on my offer terms, and that's going in front.
That's awesome. Yep.
Well, the purchase agreement has a spot for including the CR form.
Yeah, it says if you're lifting contingencies with offer, you check that box, it'll auto-populate in zip forms.
It brings it home to the seller. That's going into mostly the seller, but the agent sees it too. And a lot of times they're telling the seller, look, they removed this. And then the seller looks at another offer that may be equal to yours, but they didn't send the form, so they perceive you're superior. It's a marketing trick and it works.
Confidence. That's what you want to instill in them. Yep.
Have your
someone here,
go ahead.
I just did someone say that it's acceptable for the selling agent to show proof of a higher offer? Is that unethical?
The listing agent.
The
No,
listing
you can.
agent, in an escalation clause situation, what we're saying is we're not just going to take your word for it. We want to see that other higher offer, right?
So they can show that. Okay, I didn't know that.
I mean,
in general, the listing agent can, regardless. Michael's about to say that.
Yeah, they'll typically just cross out the names.
Yeah, they changed the rules. You used to not be able to speak about other offers.
Right.
Now the agent has the option to share or not share.
Yep.
Unless it's in writing from the seller that they're not allowed to disclose the existence or any of the terms of the other offers.
And the other thing about that is any information they share with one interested party and their agent, they're supposed to share equally with all agents for fair and honest.
Thank you.
But we know they're not fair and they're not honest. So
yes, we do know that. I'm just putting it out there so the office knows if you're sharing with one agent, you're supposed to be sharing with them all.
But ask, listen to nonverbal communication. What do I mean? A pause, a change in what you're asking, how they respond to it. And you can pretty much guess, okay, they're at $1.8 million. They're at 2 million. Okay, I need to come in at 2,050,000. Listen to them and ask. And a lot of times they may tell you, but remember, it's a moving target. It's not a target where you go to your buyer, well, they got a $2 million offer. We come in at 2,025,000. We get it. No, it's a moving target. So you got to adjust that in your strategies.
Yeah, you can ask direct questions, but if you're not going to get a direct answer, you can back it up, rephrase it. You know, a lot of times in this market now, I will contact a listing agent. I'm just like, why don't you just give me a little bit of a ballpark? Because I don't want to waste your time. I want to give you and your client exactly what you're looking for. And if I can't, I'm not going to take your time. You know, I'm not going to force you guys to receive and look at and counter another offer that's not going to be, you know, worth the time.
That's a great point. That's a great script right there. I mean, that's saving them a lot of time. Think about how overwhelming it is to like be receiving, you know, 50 offers, right? So, you know, put yourself once again in their shoes. Make it as easy for them as possible. How do you distinguish yourself? How do you build trust and confidence?
And then bring it home. Your buyer's lender. Right now, listing agents are so inundated. Have the buyer's lender write an email, just sort of, you know, backing up the buyer's ability to make a purchase. You know, just to sort of kind of back you up and give you that extra little edge. Like, man, this agent is really on top of it. Man, the service providers her and her clients work with, really on top of it. These are people who are going to close. It's all, you know, you have your direct offer, you have your direct communication, and then you have your indirect communication. You know, all that subtlety, it plays psychologically in your favor or not in your favor. So you have to be very careful about, you know, the time that you take to communicate and what you are communicating.
And reach out other.
Go ahead, Robert. I go after you. Go ahead.
Reach out to management and other top agents that you know or you're associated with. And if they know that listing agent, have them reach out to that listing agent and say some good things about you. That goes a long way in trust and closing a deal. So that's imperative that you do. And of course, if you're using lenders that are known by the listing agent, that's going to help you. That's going to go a long way.
So one of our agents, real quickly, in our office, is looking to buy a home for himself, and the listing agent is an agent I know at another office, and I reached out on behalf of him. 66 offers. I'm not exaggerating, and his offer was accepted. So,
Well, there was some other tricky stuff, John.
yeah. But anyway, but the relationship piece, once again, whether it's me helping with whatever, whether it's someone else, like if you can create a connection and instill confidence in that listing agent that this buyer's agent is worthy and credible, that's another great way to distinguish yourself.
And ask title, Lauren and Brandon and Alyssa, they know
Everybody.
Agents in other offices. And I mean, I saw Alyssa on an open house or, not an open house, but showing appointment for clients. My clients didn't want to make an offer, but trust me, I would have been, working that angle with the listing agent and the relationship. So you got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
And it worked. It works. When a big owner of a competitor in Beverly Hills calls me and says, hey, look, this is a great agent. And he spends some time selling me. I had this with Westside Estate Agency. It made me take their offer over 3 or 4 other ones, even though their offer was not the highest, but they convinced me the close rate is going to happen. It's a good client, a reliable client, a repeat client. We're going to close, take our offer, and you appreciate that. And that happens a lot between the big agents. We will take another reputable agent over an unknown agent. So you got to come in if you're an unknown agent and make yourself a known agent. And if you have to attach yourself to another agent, that's okay. And one other just trick, which seems very obvious, if there's 2 agents that are listing the property, call both of them. Find out what the number is and what they need. Because sometimes you get a closed mouth agent listing and the other one just likes to talk up the world. If there's 3, call all 3. And you're going to find one you build up a lot of rapport, a lot of insight, and they spill the beans. Call the assistant. They may know something that the other ones won't tell you. And of course, if you're a listing agent, you want to tell everyone to keep their mouths shut. But a lot of times,
be resourceful, find an angle and
Yes.
leverage it. Yep. Go ahead, Mercedes.
Yeah, all good stuff, guys. Great stuff. I personally like to play with the loan. If your client is really, if let's say they still need a loan, but they have the cash, something you can do easily is delayed purchase financing. They buy it in cash, they refi within the next, depending on the bank, 60 to 90 days. They get the exact same rate as it was an actual purchase. That's a fantastic thing to do if they have the cash. Secondly, certain lenders, what they do, you can pre-underwrite the client, not the property, but the client. This is not a pre-approval, not a pre-qual, it's an actual underwriting of the client. If that happens, the only thing they have to underwrite once you're accepted is the property. Prelim, appraisal, if there is any, that puts you right up on timeline-wise with the cash offers. You can compete with them, but you have to find a lender who does that. Third, if your buyer is sophisticated and they know what they're doing, this is not their first time buying a property, I go hard money. Negotiate the prepayment penalty down to 3 months, then do a regular refi. It's going to take them 2 to 3 months anyway on a regular refi, so there is not much bit of a difference. But that only works if the client is sophisticated and they know what they're doing. Those are
great stuff, Mercedes.
And another basic thing that's very obvious, and we haven't really directly said it, if you can state that your buyer is not flaky and they're not going to ask for a lot during a physical inspection, if you can show somehow that they're going to be cool and they're experienced, that if it's believed by the listing agent will go a long way versus that other agent who's going to come in with 10 inspectors, ask for hundreds of thousands of dollars. We see it coming. And there's certain agents that just do that. So it's, if you know your buyer is good and if you set the expectation of your buyer, hey, look, every house has issues. Unless there's something major like a foundation, we're going to be easy in escrow. If you can get that point across to a listing agent, they're probably going to take your offer over a higher offer that's going to come in and just try to be a dragon during escrow. And there's agents that do that. Every agent at the beginning, before the offer is accepted, they're all princesses or princes. They're all very nice. They promise you the world. They give you sugar and candy. They get into escrow and they burn you like a dragon. We know who those people are. You just don't want to be one of those. On the other hand, if you get it accepted, you can do whatever you want during escrow.
Robert, that's candy, sugar, and fire like a dragon, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I've seen it all.
Go ahead, Chris, and then I want to open up to some questions, but this is great.
So CAR has not said love letters to seller are not okay. They're just warning us that it could lead to discrimination. I still highly encourage that my buyers write a beautiful letter to the seller. I do think it sets them apart. I do edit it. I do make sure I take a look at it. And that's a personal choice. So for your buyers, I let them know exactly what I said, that, you know, it's still legal, but it could open you up to, you know, possible discrimination. If you think it would be valuable, I would recommend you consider writing it. And if so, why don't you type a draft and then we'll go through it together, edit it so we can deliver it with the offer package.
Can I be devil's advocate? Because Carr on the broker calls, always, they keep saying that do not do, you know, buyer love letters. So maybe what instead, you know, the stuff that your buyer would put in a letter, have the agent write in their email cover letter. Describe your clients to the agent in that letter. This way the agent could have a conversation with his seller. Here's the buyer. What I've started doing is if my buyers are like in entertainment or have IMDb pages or Google pages, just hyperlink their names to, you know, wherever they could be found. And I'm sending what would be in a buyer's love letter to the agent in the intro cover letter, you know, along with my outline. So because it does open the seller up to liability.
I'd rather the seller was open up to liability than me. I'm not writing that in my cover letter. You can do it, Michael.
No, I'm not writing anything.
That caused it.
I'm not saying writing anything that's going to, you know, to have any fair housing violations, but, you know, this, because some agents just put it in the MLS, do not send a buyer, you know, love letter, or do not send the seller.
Well, again, ask the listing agent. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it would help my buyers?
I think we're getting away from it.
As a listing agent, I would say, yes, send it.
Yeah, me too.
Now, what I'm tricking you on is I would do that as a seduction to make sure you think you have an edge over the next person, but I'm telling the next person the same story.
Well, yeah, my letter's just better.
Would it be considered sort of redlining or unethical if I showed a home in, let's say, Beverlywood, and I saw mezuzah and I saw 2 sinks, to if my buyer happens to be kosher and a Jewish family, would that be something I could share with, or is that not appropriate?
That's totally fine. It's relative to them. What is not fine is excluding or not showing something to them because it doesn't have it, or gearing it only towards a certain kind of client because it exists.
Okay.
I have a question to ask. Is there any way when you look at the property, just by your own judgment, to know that they're going to have multiple offers? Is it based on the location or how the house looks? And the agent doesn't tell you, it just tell you, come up with the best offer. All of a sudden, within a few days, you see that there are 20 offers. Is there any way that you, by looking at it, you can guess that there are going to be multiple offers and you just adjust your offer?
There's no way by looking at it, because it's going to come back down to price and location. So if the price is crazy low, or if it's even a fair market price, it's going to have multiples.
Yeah, the price is high, actually. Like, the price is not really low. The price was actually high, over 4 million.
Were the multiples on it?
And yet they had multiple offers within 3 days. They said they had 22 offers.
So from your point of view, it was priced high. From 20 buyers, it was priced low. So it's a matter of subjective professional opinion.
Yeah.
And in a moving market, comps may not rationalize. We're in a moving upward market, so what we all think is overpriced is correctly priced today. And that's hard for all of us, and it's been hard for me for the years because the numbers keep changing. And they always will change, either up or down. But over time, as the graph behind me shows, 3 or 4% a year for decades is the trend line. If we go over it, we come back down to it. If we go below it, we come back up to it.
Yes, exactly.
Questions, guys?
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question for Robert.
Yeah, Chen, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Robert, so when you make your initial offer, do you basically go in with your best and final, right from the get-go?
Yeah, exactly. I go in fast, and I cannot overstress that. An hour can make you lose a deal. A day certainly can make you lose a deal. So write it quick, get it in quick, and verify that they got it too. I've received offers and it never came. And I talked to the agent years later, they were a friend. And I said, you know, I got something that was a blank. You didn't send it correctly when you sent that one a year ago. So it's interesting just to verify that it did go in too. Just
Okay, cool.
Real basics.
Cool, thank you.
And moving fast will make you a lot more deals in a year than being smart. Just be in action, strike quickly, and just think of, well, I'm in multiples, Robert's in there too. What would he do? Move faster than me and try to beat me. There's certainly deals that we lost by just an hour.
Yep. Who else?
Is
I
there
just
any-
wanted to make a comment. I just wanted to
Nagar,
say
go
thank
ahead.
you. Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment and just say that Kristen has helped me so much. And I just wanted to acknowledge her because without her, I don't know. I mean, she really has gone above and beyond. Even if she was on vacation, she was so responsive. She has been so helpful. And I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Kristen Tull. Thank you. And all of you. But
You're welcome.
Kristen, really, you're amazing. Thank you.
Sweetheart. Thank you. As always, you're making me blush.
Absolutely,
And I
absolutely.
100% agree with that.
Who else? She's not too shabby.
Actually, I've got another question with regard to the removal of the appraisal contingency. So will lenders basically allow you to do that, or are there certain lenders that will just say, no, we must do the appraisal contingency?
They have to do it anyways. You lifting it is just lifting the contingency, which is protection for the buyer's cancellation in the case that the property doesn't appraise.
Okay.
So whether or not you have an appraisal contingency, if your buyer has a loan, most likely they're having an appraisal. However, right now, a lot of lenders are actually waiving appraisals. So
Okay.
like, I don't remember who mentioned it earlier. Maybe it was Robert, or Austin, but if you ask the lender if they can do an appraisal waiver, they very well may.
But so here's the other thing: if it doesn't appraise, like, is there a chance that the lender will say, okay, even if you're going to make up the difference with cash, we're still not going to, you know, make the loan?
Not based on the appraisal alone. If they bring in the money, it's just a financial thing.
Right. Okay.
Now, on this appraisal stuff, I have one going right now that's in the 3 million plus range. They're doing 2 appraisals. So as you get up into the higher range, I haven't seen this for a while, but you may end up getting 2 appraisals. On the lower price range, there's not as much risk. So they can occasionally waive it or do a drive-by, but in the higher price range, you might see 1 to 2. So just be ready for that. It's somewhat normal. Don't freak out, but you want to make sure those 2 appraisals are on the same number, because otherwise it's going to go back and forth trying to reconcile between the 2.
Right. So, and have you guys ever waived a physical inspection contingency? Because I had buyers just the other day. We actually made an offer on a property and they didn't want to do any physical inspections whatsoever, which I was just like horrified about, just horrified about. But I couldn't do anything about it to actually kind of get them to not do it. It was basically they were adamant about it. But has anybody ever had to do that?
You should be horrified, and you should use a form. There's a standard form, I believe, and
Buyer
Michael
inspection
wrote the name.
waiver. Buyer inspection waiver.
Oh yeah, no, I'm up on all that stuff. So that wasn't a problem. Form writing is not a problem. It's more kind of like strategy rather than anything else, I think.
Well, you want to be on record.
Sorry,
Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, just really quick. I had a buyer. It was a multiple offer situation. We actually were the winning offer. And my conversation with the buyers was, if you go through with this, that it's going to be a pass fail. What we said, we didn't waive the inspection. We waived that. We basically stated in our counter that we would not request any repairs or credits based on the inspections.
Okay.
So we just put it out there that was not going to be an issue, and we got the offer.
Okay.
Another thing you can do is write a super short physical. And you know what I've been doing? Just put in the extra work. I've just been setting up my inspections. If I think I even have a shot at getting my offer accepted, setting them up in advance.
Yep, and that saves you
Same strategy I
2 or 3
used on the
days.
same buyer. Yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
That will save you guys 2 or 3 days. So if you're writing on a property, immediately call your physical inspector, set it up. And then a 3-day inspection becomes, in a sense, a 6-day inspection. So you don't have to, because in a 3-day inspection, you really can't get an inspector out there usually if you wait till you got it accepted. So what was just said with the C woman.
Kristen.
Because
Call
you
ahead.
can always
That's
cancel.
a great strategy, and your buyer's going to appreciate that you were smart enough and clever enough to gain them extra time.
Right, and you can always cancel that inspection if you don't end up getting it accepted. But go ahead and take the time to reserve the spot now.
That I scheduled it. I said, I'm not trying to be presumptuous, but just in case, I'm showing you that we're going to deliver on our promise to, release on time.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do too. I highlight it out. I let the listing agent know what I'm doing. Hey, I'm preemptively setting these because I want you to know I'm actually going to honor my 3-day inspection timeframe, my 5-day inspection timeframe I put in there. I want you to know that I'm actually going to do it. I'm not just promising I'm going to do it.
Because actions speak louder than words.
Mm-hmm.
And as a strategy, after you're in escrow, the listing agent has to give you a notice to perform. If they don't give you a notice to perform, you can slide a little bit longer. And most of the time they're okay. Most agents are okay with that, so long as you're moving forward. So if you gain a 3-day, becomes a 4-day or a 5-day, you're usually fine. It's nothing to cry over. And you have to ask Michael about this. I believe on the close of escrow, California has pretty much determined, the courts have, that if you're 3 days late, that's no reason to cancel on a buyer because escrows are averages. So you got to keep reminding your buyer and your seller that these are estimates, close days. These are estimate times. They're never always 100% accurate. And then this reduces the stress on both the buyer and the seller. So it's handling expectations.
I would have to say, a seller, if an escrow is supposed to close in 30 days and all contingencies have been removed and everything has been, the seller has provided all reports, disclosures per the contract in time, they could give a demand to close escrow and close, and cancel if a buyer doesn't. So
yeah,
it is what it's. The contracts are contracts. It's not a suggestion. So.
And I would also disagree. If you have any indication that you're even going to be 1 day late, I like completely open, honest communication with the listing agent so that I have goodwill, so that I can actually get that extension, so that and I want them to know exactly what's delaying me, exactly what I've done to rectify it, what's happening that moment forward. I'm not looking to steal a couple of extra days. I'm looking to secure my partnership and close a deal with them and make them feel good and comfortable, because they're my ambassador to the seller, and the seller is ultimately the one who's making the decision as to whether or not that's okay with them.
And by the way, don't forget to then communicate whatever you agree upon to the lender, to escrow, to all parties involved, because just because you come to an agreement with the listing agent and the seller doesn't mean that everybody else is still on that same new time frame. You got to make sure.
You're going to get an actual document. You're going to get extension of time addendum, guys.
Sure.
It's not a verbal agreement.
Right.
It's a written formal agreement. Protect yourself.
And if you know you're going to be late, it should be early on in escrow, and it's easy to get extensions then. At the last minute, it's almost impossible to get everyone to agree on extended time without paying for it. So if you're going to do it and early on, definitely get something in writing early on. It's so much infinitely easier than at the last minute.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I was just wondering
cash offer better than the financing? You think your cash offer make your offer stands, or?
Of course, cash makes your offer look stronger. Come on, John.
Cash, more money down,
as opposed,
if you could show more money.
Yes.
And of course, if it's an all cash offer and you're asking for 30 days or more, we know you're lying to us. So don't do that. No, that often happens. We see a 30-day escrow with all cash. It's like, why? Or a 45-day escrow with cash. Why is it 45 days?
It doesn't make sense.
It automatically.
Right. That's a good point.
So
I
if you're doing all cash,
time to move. Plan.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. If you're doing all cash, do shorter than 30 days. Show us that it's real, and then give us a rent back option. Now you're covered and you're seductive, and it sounds real, like it's the real thing, instead of these games that many agents play. where it's not all cash. It is a loan. They're doing it on the side. Quite often that happens.
It's again, it's communicating with the listing agent, asking what the seller wants. If they want a short escrow, maybe the seller needs the kids to graduate and can't close till June, or they need the time. Just ask.
Joseph, you were going to ask something.
Yeah. First of all, thank you guys for everything you guys been saying. I was just wondering, what is there any tricks you could do when you're going up against an agent who got an opportunity to double end the deal, or is it you kind of no luck there?
First, ask them, do they have an offer? And if they have their own offer, you're going to have to come in with a super good offer to beat them. And sometimes the agents get kind of irate when you ask them point blank. The one that told me not to write an offer, I asked him and he didn't respond. He almost hung up the phone on me, but in the end we won. But if someone has their own offer in this market, it's hard to get yours accepted. So you might spend a little bit more time on your buyer. I'm not 100% sure. I would say the listing agent has their own offer, because now you're pushing your buyer to start writing offers with listing agents. So I would just say this property, our chances are really low on getting yours, but we're going to try anyway.
I do have to say we're seeing less of that in this market. Listing agents are not writing their own offers. They just don't want. They realize the good ones, or even the not so good ones, realize that this is a crazy market, and the liability for just representing both is not there, and they don't want to touch it. So I'm seeing a lot less listing agents double popping deals in multiple offer situations.
Kristen, you were going to say something, I think.
Oh, all right. So I come from a school of thought where I'd rather make some money than no money. Don't get me wrong. If I really think I can put my buyer in another escrow, they're not super picky. Okay. But, let's say I'm working with a buyer in this environment where it's super competitive, and listing agent has, by the way, they're legally required to answer that question, whether or not they represent a buyer themselves. If they are representing a buyer, if I had to, maybe I would offer them a small referral fee. If I absolutely had to, I know you're ethical and you would never do this because you're an ethical, great listing agent, but that's such a bummer. I'd really like to get my offer accepted, get my buyers under contract. But I'd be willing to give you a little referral fee. If I had to do that, I would. I think I would disclose that to my buyer though, if I had to, because I'd want that to be legitimate. I feel like that's a little kind of little shady, but I would do it if I had to.
Well, if you're disclosing, it's not shady. And my question
that's why I said I disclose it.
How much are you offering?
$1,500. I don't want to offer a lot. Something.
I've even offered to kick in, if my buyers are not the highest, I will credit the seller $5,000.
Yes, I do that too.
I've written that into offers as well,
Thanks.
Try to use that as a last resort, because we work too hard for our money. So don't give it away too easily, guys.
Can I just say the last thing? Just, everybody's got fatigue. The buyers have fatigue. The buyers' agents have fatigue. Be nice to one another. We're out there day in, day out. Now's, people are always asking, this or that. So just be nice to other agents. Be nice to, other people out there. We'll get through this. Something's going to break or bust, or, it's not going to continue on, but you're going to have to deal with people, on an ongoing basis. And, this is our profession. We're all doing it. Everything that
Get listings. How's
What?
that? Get listings.
Get listings, of course. So.
And when you run up against a person that's fatigued, bite your tongue when they piss you off. Bite your tongue and don't get pulled into it, because there's going to be some crazies out there.
And buyers have to lose a few
what your
properties.
home is worth. You may be pleasantly surprised. How about that call? Real simple, right? Honestly, I'm not being. Do you know what your home is worth? You may be pleasantly surprised. Get the appointment, show them what their home is worth, and all of a sudden you may start to have more listings.
Can I tell you that I got a call last night? He didn't want to give me his name. He said, this is not directed just at your brokerage, but I'm calling because it was your 2 agents that were door knocking. But why must brokers insistently come to my door and knock if I want to sell? You know, it's like, this was a guy, I just let him vent for 15 minutes. I think it, you know, was.
And then he lives with you. Go ahead. Go, sorry.
No, but I listened to him. I listened to him, and I said, you know, I understand. I hate when people come to my, you know, door and solicit, and I'm not that type, you know, but I get it. You know, you should put a little sign on your front door that says no solicitation, you know, and if you see that, if you're door knockers, please move on. You don't, you know, if somebody makes it clear that they don't want to be bothered or don't want people door knocking them. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the call, he's like, well, if I decided to list now, I know someone nice to call, you know, so, you know, my husband.
So Michael, are you going to follow up with him?
Well, I mean, I have his number. He didn't want to give me his name, and he didn't want to give me the 2 guys that were walking across the street from each other, door knocking.
We know probably who it is, but I would give him a call back in a month and just say, how are you doing? Just touch bases.
But guys, I mean what I said. It's amazing how few people that we think it's so obvious that they're all aware of this market. Many are not, guys. So once again, be proactive. Be prospecting in your own unique, organic way, and you know, really be asking people, do you know what your home is worth? And let me show you, because again, that may all of a sudden open their eyes to something that, you know, may seem obvious to us, but is not to them.
So have they allowed door knocking again now?
They haven't said that. Yeah.
The answer
For all
is
intents
yes.
and purposes,
How's that
yes,
awesome?
you can do it.
Yep.
Yes.
And open houses again, June 15th, right?
Say it again.
Open houses, June 15th?
They still haven't said it was allowed, unless between Friday and today, I haven't heard anything.
But we
More of a
still can
wishful
door
statement.
knock.
Go ahead, Abu. What?
I say we still do door knocking.
Yes, you can door knock.
because-
I'm gonna say it. So
Well, I think door knocking is still working. I've been door knocking like 3 weeks ago in Ladera, and I pick up a listing.
bingo.
Great job.
Yep.
So
Melissa, go ahead.
I have
We'll wrap this up in
I have
5.
a question. So when is Brokers opening? Because I have a listing. Brian Katz and I have a listing, and I have another one in the Bird Streets coming on. And I want to have a big party and put COVID behind us. So
We're
what?
waiting. Go ahead.
Trust me, it will not be a hidden, you know.
Hey, can I
announcement.
have it open with Shingo?
Yeah, as soon as they say they give the go ahead, we'll let.
We'll be yelling at the top. Believe me.
Well, I need to know now. My sellers are waiting.
Go call Gavin.
Do a broker appointment only.
Okay, well, yeah, right? And then, okay. So let me tell you what we got. Are we talking about listings yet?
I'm good, Melissa. I love it. Go ahead, Melissa. We're gonna wrap this up in 2 minutes. Go ahead.
All right, we got Brian Katz and I got a beautiful property, double lot, over 8,000 square feet in Venice Beach. It's a little different, like all of us, right? Step out of the box. It's very unique. Front house is redone, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, gorgeous property, 1,800 square feet. Then in the back, you have a rec room. It's permitted as a rec room, but it's 3,600 square feet with the garage. It's got ceilings of 20 to 30 foot ceilings. It's got where you can park cars, storage. You can make it an entertainment room. You can make it a sound room, you know, with, you know, if you're a musician. Our client is a famous artist. He's had his paintings in there. So we're gonna do different scenarios for the photos. And it was Lisa Bonet and Lenny Kravitz's home. It's coming on the market for $599. I haven't decided if I want a 5 or a 9, but Brian and I will discuss that. $5,999, let's just say. It's coming on June 8th, but I'm gonna postpone that if we can do Brokers Open, because I'm gonna have a real party there. So everybody
there.
can come. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We gotta get this going. We gotta tape record it. We gotta get everybody back to normal. Anyway, so if you guys have any questions, reach out to Brian or myself. And it's a great property, I'm telling you, on Millwood, 819 Millwood. Last agent, unfortunately, overpriced it 10 million. It's not worth 10 million, and it's not worth 8, which she reduced it to. We're at 5.9. It's gonna sell. So if you guys need something in Venice, let us know. Also have a Bird Street property coming up on Oriole Lane. Still discussing with my sellers. It's gonna go either 3.5, 4 million, 3-bedroom, views, pool, great house. I'll give you more information a little later. And then I got a Century City Towers coming, 3-bedroom, unbelievable views. Probably listing in December, trying to list now, but because of taxes, they can't really sell till after this year. So it'll probably come on at the end of December. It's going to be probably around 2.1. Amazing views from every room, 3-bedroom.
Awesome. Hey,
3-bedroom.
Brian, congratulations on that Venice property, brother.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And Melissa,
We're gonna
of course.
sell it. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, any last questions on this topic? And Kristen, you're amazing, and obviously Robert's not too bad either.
I've got to go.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
You're awesome. Thank you. Anyone with a last question before we wrap this up? All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. We're going to start to do probably a monthly sort of mastermind, and we're going to pick a new topic each time. I think this has been very informative and trying to get everyone engaged, involved, and just the wealth of knowledge that we have. The more we share it, the more we elevate everyone. So very proud of this culture of collaboration. We've got amazing talent here, and just go out and make it happen, guys. And don't be afraid to ask the questions, right? Step out of your comfort zone and take massive action. Have an amazing day, guys. Red Day on Thursday. Hope to see a lot of you there. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.